And we're live. Hello, everybody. Hello, 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 hello. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are tuning in from. It's Candace again, back to host another live stream. It's again always nice to be here with you guys and to spread the knowledge about manga. So yeah, hello everyone. How is it? Wherever you guys are tuning in from, like what time is it? Where are you guys tuning in from? I'd love to know. Please feel free to share in the comments. I always like to get a sense of who I'm talking to throughout the live stream as I do these things. So I'd love to know and like know more about you guys just a little bit. And hi Nelson, but it's not Trisha, it's Candice. Sorry. Um but Trisha does send her regards to everyone in chat, you guys. Um Edgeflame is a return viewer. Hello, Edgeflame. Welcome back to another live stream. All right, Ellie. It's 7 p.m. for Ellie. Hello, Ellie. Um, Evil Neko. It's 3 a.m. for them, and they're from Greece. Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for joining us today, even though it's so late. Really appreciate it. Weber Israel sounds like Trisha. Yeah, I get that a lot. Yeah. Um. Who else? Who else? Who else? Hello, Jakey. I rough. Jakey, are you a return viewer? I could have sworn I've seen your name in another live stream before. Pals, it's 8 a.m. from Malaysia. Hello, pals. Thank you so much for joining us so early in the morning. Oh my goodness. Good morning, pals. Who else? Mitsuki, it's 1 a.m. in Nigeria. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for joining us, Mitsuki. Who else? Who else? Who else is here? Aries Art from Nigeria. Hello, Aries. Um, Desmond. Hello, Griffith. It's 3:30 a.m. Oh my goodness, Griffith. Thank you. I hope you're properly awake for today's discussion. Then I mean, if any of you guys are dozing off because it's so late, then you can always watch the replay, you guys. But then you would miss out on the actual live discussion, and because I am going to be asking like questions and going through like a couple of really quick activities with you guys. But yeah, hopefully you're feeling ready for today's discussion. All right, who else? Okay, Pale Moon from Texas. Hello, Pale Moon. Um who else? Runny Babbitt from Texas. Hello. Drax, it's 5:30 in India, 5:30 in the afternoon or in the morning? Who else? Running back, actually driving my webtoon at the moment while listening. That's awesome, Runny. Good for you. All right. So, in the meantime, you guys, while you guys get to know each other in chat, because now that I know where everyone's from, all of you guys know where everyone's from now at this point. So, hello, and welcome to another live stream on the Learn to Draw Manga channel. And today we are going to be discussing the 7-step manga creation process used by pro Japanese mangakas, our mentors. So, all of these tips, all of these lessons, they come straight from our mentors. All right, so if you've spent years struggling to create your own manga, then you're in the right place, you guys. We're in for a really awesome discussion for today. So, yeah, I have a really quick question, you guys. If you can relate to any of this, right, just type I'm struggling in chat. Okay, so have you ever always wanted a great manga, but you would say, my art isn't good enough, my story isn't ready, I don't know how to properly put my ideas on paper, and I feel alone and scared that I can't make it? Is this you? Have you ever felt this way at any point in your um journey of trying to make manga yourself? Just type I'm struggling in chat. If this is you, then let us know. All right, no shame here, you guys. This is a judgment-free zone. This is a safe space. Everybody be nice. Okay? So there's nothing wrong with saying that you're struggling, okay? We're all struggling. So this is a space for us to just um commiserate with each other and just have a safe discussion, you know? JK, I've seen your latest video and it's really amazing, like the one I need. Oh, that's really nice, JK. I'm really glad that you saw our latest video. By the way, you guys, speaking of our latest video, you should check it out after this, you know? It's a great video, as JK says. All right. Doc Monwa King is struggling, Mr. Vids is struggling, Dr. Bot definitely, but I think I'm improving. That's great. That's always great. Um, Yoon? Yoons? Hopefully I'm saying that right. I am struggling. Okay. EON. I hope I'm saying that right. My art isn't beginner, but I'm a pro. My problem is I'm rushing myself to reach what people reached in years. Oh yeah, that's also another thing that a lot of artists struggle with, you know. And a lot of our students actually do struggle with the same thing, just being impatient to get results. But I think real quick, just a nugget of knowledge, the process is more important than results. I mean, personally, that's just my personal opinion, but that there, you know how there's like a famous saying that the process is more important than results, right? I know I didn't make that up. I mean, it's something that people say, that a lot of people say. So if you're the type that just enjoys the process of making manga, then you have to actually enjoy it and actually embrace it and learn from every single detail of the process, every single step of the process, right? As you're drafting the script, as you're drafting the storyboard, as you're revising your storyboard, you know, every single step takes a certain amount of effort, right? Storyboard more effort than drafting of a script for sure, but each step does require like a certain level of effort that will be exhausting to a first timer, depending on what your strengths are, right? So if you're really good at writing, or if you're used to writing, or you're used to storytelling, then perhaps like the writing phase might be easier for you. Or if you're mostly an artist and you struggle with storytelling, you struggle with writing, then of course like the storyboarding might be a bit easier for you, you know? So depending on who you are as a creative, the process is going to be different, right? But at the end of the day, whatever um whatever the process is like for you, you still have to enjoy it and find some joy in it every single day, right? So if it gets to a point where you're starting to hate the process, I hate writing dialogue, or I hate drafting up storyboards. It's so hard for me. It's so difficult. Then take a step back, right? Because they are necessary steps and you can't skip them. So if you're struggling with it at that moment, then it's always good to take a step back and like take a breather, refresh, get some inspiration elsewhere, read your favorite manga, watch your favorite anime, you know. So it's these little things that you can do to just keep that joy for the process, all right? All right, so I went on a tangent. You guys, so going back to my first point, right? If is have you been struggling? Right? So as you can see, like a lot of people in chat have been struggling, right? And as you can see, you guys, you're not alone. You're not alone in this journey. There's so many of you who are going through the same thing, all right? And by the end of this free training, you're gonna have an exact roadmap on how to create your first manga. And you don't have to keep going around in a circle feeling lost and stuck for so long. You guys, we've already broken down this process with the help of some amazing professionals. All right. And by the way, before I move on, if you're a beginner serious about creating your own original manga to self publish, join manga contests, and pitch to publishers, then stick around to learn how. All right. So for today, here's what we're going to learn. These are the 7 steps to create your first manga. We're going to be learning ideation and planning, writing, visual design, storyboarding, pencil sketches, inking, and finishing slash shading. And again, we've broken down this process with the help of professional mangakas. Now, in the past 4 years, we've worked with pro Japanese mangakas as mentors in our program. These are our two, Naoyazawa and Rena Saya. Now, they have a combined experience of over 50 years in the industry. They've both won contests, they've both worked with publishers, self published their own titles, and even Yazawa sensei has had her manga, Wedding Peach, turned into an anime. All right, so which you guys should check out, by the way. Wedding Peach is really fun. And also, Rena Sensei also has a new manga series coming up this year, and they're both teaching at manga schools in Tokyo. So, our mentors know what they're talking about, you guys. They've been in the industry for decades, the Japanese manga industry for decades. And we also have our other mentor, Steph Pastrano, who is a pro webtoon artist. He's been known for his really awesome fan art, as you can see on screen. They look like they're official illustrations, but these are all fan made. These were all made by our mentor. So yeah, Steph, mentor Steph is really awesome. He's also working on a webtoon right now. And we also have our other mentor, our newest addition to the team, pro manga editor Vivi. Vivi joined us earlier this year, and she's worked with Japanese publishers for 10 years now. She's worked on titles like Record of Ragnarok and Unsung Cinderella, and she's also worked with publishers like Kadokawa and Comics, the publisher behind Fist of the North Star and the largest international manga competition, the Silent Manga Audition. All right. Now, with the guidance of these pros, we've helped over 400 beginner mangakas in the last 3 years. Oh, sorry, 3 years. And we've seen them transform their manga journeys. Now, we have our student, Raven, who struggled with her art when she first came to us, and now she's already finished her first one shot. Right? And you know what? It only took her 4 months to produce her first one shot, right? So it was a really intense process for Raven, if I can remember this, because when Raven first started out, she'd never made manga before, and she'd only drawn a few times here and there, but she really wanted to have something of her own, have a manga of her own, since she'd been a fan of manga for so long, you know. So she took a chance. She dove right into the process, had a lot of trial and error, and already finished her first one shot in just 4 months, right? Which is amazing. And we also have our student Eduardo, who published his latest shonen battle manga, Cobra the Kid, on Manga Plus Creators, and also recently joined the Silent Manga Edition back in February. So yeah, Eduardo is one of our students who already had experience making manga before joining us. I mean, he joined a couple of manga competitions before joining us, and he decided to join the program because he just wanted to improve his storytelling and actually get mentorship from pro mangakas, you know, and it paid off. He's finally published his first one shot on Manga Plus Creators. And then we have our student Steven. Now, Steven has actually been developing his character since before he ever joined us. And he actually joined the Japan Greece manga contest back in April, and that's already a couple of months after joining the program. So just after a couple of months of joining the program, he's already improved so much. He went from just drawing sketches and character illustrations to drawing full on pages and layouts. And it's been amazing seeing his progress, honestly. And it's I've personally been looking forward to seeing him join more contests. He's already planning on joining the Silent Manga Edition this year. And yeah, those are our students. Now, we're here to share our insights and knowledge so you can finally create your first manga this 2025. So, are you guys ready? Just type I'm ready in chat if you're ready to start. All right. I want to make sure that you guys are settled in, that you guys are focused on the live. So, let us know. Are you ready? All right. All right. Ready, ready, ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Just reading through chat. That's what's going in my head right now. SpongeBob's voice. All right. All right, you guys. By the way, forgive me if I do sound a bit nasally. It's my allergies working up. So if you need me to speak up, let me know, okay? It might be muffled because of my nose. So forgive me. All right. All right, it seems like everybody is ready. And by the way, just real quick, you guys, can you hear the music that's playing right now? Or is it too low? Because I want to make sure that we have something going off in the background just so people stay awake. Or, nope, you can't hear. All right, just a bit. Oh, okay. So someone does hear it. How about that? I've adjusted it. Is it. Can you guys hear it now? Yeah, I can hear the music. Is it so it's not too loud? It's not. It's jazz, yeah. Yeah, a little. All right. Okay, it's good. Not too loud, not too distracting. Just let me know before I move on. Yeah. All right, everything is good. All right. If you guys are ready, then settle in and stick around. If you believe you have a unique story to share through your manga, but after years of working on it, you still don't have anything to show. All right, settle in and stick around. If you feel lost and overwhelmed trying to figure this all out by yourself, and you feel like you're not moving forward because you don't know where or how to get started, and settle in and stick around if you want to find the right mentorship so you can publish your manga, join manga contests, and eventually work with publishers. All right. And by the way, you guys, for those of you who are here right now and are not sure about what exactly you want to do, about your whole journey of trying to make manga, then you can leave right now if you simply just want to improve your art and not necessarily make a manga. Because if you know you're not going to do anything after this class, then you can leave right now. And nothing, if you know you're not going to do anything after this session, then I don't really see what's the point, right? Because even if I tell you all the secrets and all the techniques in the world, it doesn't really matter if you don't take action, right? So nothing's going to happen if you don't really want to make manga. And two, you can also leave right now if you're only going to listen but don't take action afterwards. I mean, I don't want to waste any of your time. You can leave right now if you just aren't going to do anything after this. And you can also leave right now if you think you can learn and do everything by yourself. Because I've seen a lot of beginners and a lot of them are really rushing. They're impatient to just, oh, for my first project, I want to make like a kick-ass manga that can rival, I don't know, Attack on Titan. I have, because I do know someone who's like that, who tried to apply to the program, right? And just so you know, you guys, you just don't become a better artist after a single day or a single project, right? You have to invest your time, you have to invest your effort, dedication to truly become a better artist. So if you're not ready to make that commitment, if you're not patient, and you just want to make, I don't know, publisher ready level manga in just a week or in just a month, then That's not realistic, you guys. It's just not realistic. So if you're that type, you can leave right now. And guys, you can leave right now if you're not willing to commit and make a conscious effort to practice and make time for your manga. The whole point of having this live right now is so that we can break down the process and make it easier for you to go through it, right? But we're really just breaking down the process. It's still an intensive process. Each of the steps that we're going to be discussing today, each of them are intense in their own right, right? Again, each of them will require a certain amount of effort from you, the artist, and it'll be difficult for sure for beginners. So if you don't like difficulty, if you don't like to struggle through the process, then you can leave right now. All right, because we want to work with artists who are ready and willing to put in the work, to just work hard to overcome the difficulty at first. All right, so for those of you guys who are still with me right now in this class, then I just want to say congratulations. All right, so if you're still with me, I just want to say congratulations. Drop the clapping emoji in the chat. Let's all celebrate. If you're still here, I just want to give you guys like a virtual pat on the back. Just drop some clapping emojis in chat, all right? Because you choosing to stay with me tells me that you're ready to take action. You don't want to stay stuck in the exact same situation, and you don't want to continue to feel lost or frustrated or insecure with your manga. Okay, you're choosing to empower yourself. So drop those clapping emojis in chat. All right, I just want to give you guys a pat on the back again. Give each other a pat on the back. All right. So, all right. Congratulations, you guys. Congratulations. Now, make sure to stay until the end to learn how you can get personal mentorship from pro Japanese mangakas and a pro manga editor, and land an all expense paid trip to Japan to pitch to publishers, you guys. So we have lots of exciting new opportunities in the program that we just announced earlier this year. I mean, if you want to learn more about these new opportunities in the program, if you that are going to be available to you once you join, then make sure to stay until the end, because I'll be talking more about it after the actual discussion. So yeah. Alright, you guys, before we continue, here's a little info about us and why we're doing this free trading, okay? I'm gonna just give a bit of an origin story real quick before we get into the discussion, because I feel like explaining why we're doing this entire thing is important, especially for the first time viewers who've never seen any of our content, or who've never subscribed to our channel, or have never been to one of these live streams before. Alright, so I just want to share a bit of an origin story about Learn to Draw Manga. So this is Trisha. Now, this is the owner of Learn to Draw Manga and an online art brand called Artillery Philippines. And just like you, Trisha loves anime and manga, and because of her passion for it, she actually moved to Japan in 2013, and she's been living there since, right? And when Trisha came to Japan, she saw so many opportunities for aspiring manga artists, including the opportunity to learn. All right, and in Japan, there are manga schools. These are technical colleges where you can learn how to draw manga for 2 to 4 years, right? And when Trisha was younger, she loved anime, manga, and drawing, but there were just no resources to learn how to draw manga, and she could only dream about it. So, looking at these schools, these manga technical schools in Japan, she thought it was unfair, right? Because just because I'm not from Japan, I don't have this opportunity. And even though Trisha did manage to move to Japan, she still couldn't afford it. Alright, so she wanted to make learning how to draw manga more accessible and affordable to aspiring manga artists all around the world, and that's why we're doing this live stream right now. Alright, so we at Learn to Draw Manga want to empower each and every one of you. We want to help you go from stuck and struggling to confident and fulfilled by creating your first published one-shot manga, and we want to help you overcome your self-doubt and perfectionism by learning the right skills and developing the right mindset so you can prove to yourself that you can do this. All right, you guys, you can make manga. So if you guys are fully ready for this session, just type I'm ready to make manga in chat, right? Get your pen and paper ready. Make sure to take notes. All right, just type I'm ready in chat before we start, because we're finally gonna get into it, you guys. We're gonna get into it. So just type I'm ready so that I know that everyone's locked in. All right. By the way, you guys, if at any point the music is too loud, just let me know in chat. All right. All right, everyone is ready. Now, first things first, I want to start this training off with a beginner mistake. All right, I want you guys to avoid this number one beginner mangaka mistake. Can you guys guess what that mistake is? All right, what's the number one thing that most, if not all, beginners do, especially at the first part of their journey, right? What is this mistake? Make sure drop your guesses in chat. Just make sure to drop your guesses in chat. Evil Neko, hurry. Angela, not starting. Yes, that's also another mistake, not starting. But this is for people. These are for beginner mangakas who have started though. So not starting is definitely a mistake if you wanna make manga. But for people who have actually started, what is the number one mistake? Pale Moon, rushing, yeah. Jakey making too much chapters, making their dream 50 volumes long, yeah. Not scripting, focusing on the art, not the story. Wanting to make a big series, not starting out with a one shot. All right, so a couple of you guys got it right. It's making your first manga too long, too complicated, especially when you have zero experience. So Ellie got it right. Like, wanting to make a big series is the number one mistake that a lot of beginners make, you know. So making your first Jakey also got it right, making too much chapters. Edge Flame also got it right, making their dream 50 chapters long. 50 chapters is long, and it's not recommended for beginners, you guys. So if you have zero experience, then having a multi-chapter manga is a big mistake. Especially for your first project, right? So if you guys have been developing a story since you were in elementary, middle school, high school, and at this point it's gotten super long and super complicated, then that's a mistake. Because I've actually seen a lot of beginners who've had a lot of unfinished stories before ever joining the program. Just a lot of unfinished drafts, unfinished series, ideas, and never any finished work, you know, because they've already made multiple stories and they've had so many ideas, and they've gotten distracted over the years, or their minds have changed about a certain idea over time, you know. So a lot of just unfinished work just piling up. All right, and let me guess what's happened to you, right? If you're one of these people who's just been making multiple chaptered mangas over the years, or have tried making like a series for your first manga, then perhaps you've been developing your story for years or even decades with multiple characters, a lot of story building, lore, power systems, and just making it too complex. Just feel free to are you guilty of this, you guys? If you're guilty of this, then just say I'm guilty in chat. I mean, no judging here. If at any point, if any of these points resonate with you, just type I'm guilty in chat. A lot of people are guilty of this, that's for sure. Just building up this story in their heads with so much lore, a really needlessly detailed power system, and just making everything too complex, just going too much into detail for their first project, you know. While paying attention to the details is not a mistake, for your first project, it'll definitely make it even more difficult than necessary for your first project, right? So yeah, if you're guilty of this, just type I'm guilty in chat. And if you feel like you have to create your magnum opus, your quote-unquote magnum opus with 50, 60, 70, or even more chapters, Are you guilty of this? I do know a couple of beginners who are guilty of this. Again, I think I mentioned the person who wanted to make a manga equal to or rivaling Attack on Titan, and they'd never made a proper manga before. So if you're that type of person who feels like you need to create like this magnum opus or this amazing series for your first few projects, then just type I'm guilty in chat. Alright, Zuma Jr. guilty 5 years. Oh my goodness, so you've been working on your manga for 5 years, Zuma? Frankie for the past 3 years now. Okay, we do have a couple of people who've been working on their mangas for a couple of years now. Zuma, the story is getting better, but not the drawing. Yeah, I feel that. I would say guilty, but it's not complex. Been writing my story since 2008. Oh my god, 2008 is a while, Thomas. And have you ever finished something, Thomas, since 2008? Or have you just been making this story since for all these years? Alright. Greg says Hajime Isayama's journey to becoming a mangaka is the most inspiring to me out of all of them. For sure, for sure. Because, I'm not sure if I want to get into Isayama right now because we do have a discussion to go through. But real quick, you guys, Isayama started out not having the best art skills. He wasn't the best artist, but he was an awesome storyteller. His storytelling skills were really great from the beginning, honestly. I mean, it could use some improvement, that's for sure. That's why he made like multiple one-shots before ever coming up with the idea for Attack on Titan. And he also joined like multiple contests before then as well. So Isayama really went through the entire process. I mean, he's no prodigy, that's for sure. He really put in the work. So yeah. And let me guess, if any of you've started on multiple stories and don't even have a single one out and finished yet, type I'm guilty in chat. Do you have multiple stories, multiple ideas, multiple drafts, and not a single one of them has been finished or has ever seen the light of day? If this is you, just type I'm guilty. Because I do know a lot of people who are guilty of this, unfortunately. And it's not a bad thing. You know, it's not a bad thing. But if you do want to make progress, then you do have to finish something at some point. You know, you can't just keep going through the whole process of trial and error. Oh, let me try this idea. Oh, after a couple of months, after a couple of years, I don't like this idea anymore, or it's not panning out the way I want it to. Let me just move on to the next idea, right? So that's what people call procrastinating. Or people call just indecisiveness as well, you know? So if this is you, just type I'm guilty. Alright, plenty of people are guilty of this. I for sure. I know a lot of you, if not all of you, have experienced this. So, Thomas, I do got about 3 that are in draft, so guilty, yeah. Edge Flame, I work on other projects, yeah. Lafa? I got 4 stories, yeah. 4 stories? Simultaneously? You're working on all 4 of them right now? I'm guilty, Mitsuki, I'm guilty, but I have finished them. Currently writing another one. Oh, okay. Have you ever, Mitsuki, for a question for Mitsuki, have you ever released them or shared them online or published them? Because I assume that the point of making multiple mangas, of making multiple projects, is to, at some point, like, release them for other people to read, you know? So have you ever gone to that point already? I got like 10 stories and finished 2. Ooh, that's nice, Yoa. For the people who have finished their mangas, have you guys released them? Like self-published them or submitted them to competitions or tried showing them to editors? Let us know. I am curious though. I once made a story to share with friends, but it was just one page. That's progress. That's big. That's a big step. Angela, I'm working on a universe with more than 4 stories that connect in a way. That's tricky. That's a bit tricky, Angela. Especially if this is your first manga. Because what we tell our students is trying to come up with this really large universe, like large as in comparable to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the One Piece universe, or perhaps the Naruto universe, or perhaps what other multi really big multi-chapter mangas are out there. Or Jujutsu Kaisen or something like that. Yeah. Having these big projects with huge worlds is not recommended if it's just your first project, especially a first 2 or 3 projects. That's for sure. Um because focusing too much on world building will put you at some point will put you down this road of, oh, I need to be aware of all of the details, of all of the factors, of all of the um gears that I've put into place for this world. I need to remember, okay, how do my characters um interact with this world? How essential are they to the story? What is the government like? What's the environment like? What are the problems that they have to face? What are the systems in place that are preventing them from solving their problems or reaching their goals? All of these details, this is all part of world building, you know? And it takes a really organized and big brain to come up with such vast worlds. Okay, I mean, look at Oda. For example, look at Oda and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, this is a cinematic universe of based on multiple comics from multiple artists, you know? And some of these mangakas, like Oda, who have such huge worlds, it's because they've been working on them for the past 10 years, right? So if you want to make a manga with world building that's like equivalent to Oda's, perhaps, or try to do that, then it'll take you such a long time, honestly. I mean, unless you're a genius or unless you're a prodigy, you know? So, okay, you guys, going back to the discussion, for any of you guys who have been guilty of any of these things that I've been talking about so far, then my reality check for you guys today is to focus. Okay? So, how do we focus? How do we actually finish your first manga, your first project? Okay? So, my next question is, what's the ideal number of chapters for a beginner? Let me know. Drop your answers in the comments. Seeing a couple of guesses. I'm seeing a lot of ones. All right, 1. Wait, no, 2. 2? 16? I'm saying chapters, guys, not pages. Okay, chapters. A single chapter is typically 16 to 20 pages. So how many chapters is ideal? All right, so most of you guys got it correct. All right, so it's 1. Okay? For your first manga, you have to learn how to make a one-shot. For your first manga, it just has to be 1 single chapter. You guys, 1 single chapter that's 16 to 20 pages long. Yes. or not 20. Some one-shots do go over 20, honestly. But that's the minimum. 16 to 20 is like the minimum. Yeah, because I do know a couple one-shots that are like over 30 pages long. But again, 16 to 20 is the minimum. All right. A lot of pro mangakas get a breakthrough through manga one-shots, you guys. So if you guys have been wondering why a one-shot, this is why. A lot of contests require a one-shot, all right? And a lot of publishers also commission just one chapter until they get reader survey results. And the popular one-shots that perform really well upon release, those are the ones that get a serialization. So it's like how a TV series is greenlit, right? So a TV series gets one pilot episode or one season, and if it's popular after the one season, then it gets more seasons. It gets greenlit for more seasons. So there is really no point of creating like 10, 50, 60 chapters of a manga, especially if your goal is to get published, right? If your goal is to get published and to get signed with a publisher and monetize your work through a publisher, then the goal is to make sure the publisher likes your work and is willing to invest in it, because publishing your work does come with a risk, does come at a risk for the publisher, right? Because what's good for the publisher may not 100% be good for readers, right? So what plays out well or what works well for the artist, for the mangaka, or for the publisher, or for the editor may not be the same for actual manga readers, right? So editors might like it, the mangaka might like it, but you'll never know if readers will like it until they actually put it out there for readers to read. So that's why there are a lot of mangakas, foreign mangakas right now, mangakas outside of Japan, who actually get their start just publishing their first work for free, and that's typically a one-shot. Because a one-shot is quick, a one-shot is easier, like way easier than an actual series, a multiple part series, and a manga is shorter, therefore it takes you less time to finish. So a one shot, perhaps you can finish in just 1 or 2 months. Your first one shot, perhaps you can finish in 1 or 2 months, and after you finish it, you can post it, and that way you can build your readership online. So that's just one of the ways that you can get your start as a mangaka. So all that to say, start with a one shot. And the most popular mangas, had pilot chapters, had one shots. They all started out as one shots. Now, if you can recall, Naruto, Dragon Ball, and Attack on Titan all had pilot chapters, all had one shots. The Naruto pilot was a one shot, the Dragon Ball pilot was a one shot, the Attack on Titan pilot was a one shot. So they're called pilot chapters, but they were, when the mangakas made them, they were one shots, right? Short, sweet, a story that's finished and completed within the one shot, without any room to be continued by the end. Because that's one mistake that a lot of beginners make as well when making their first one shot. They finish their first one shot on a cliffhanger, like to be continued, or find out in the next chapter type thing, even though it's meant to be a one shot. So don't do that. All right, so the whole point of making a one shot is to tell a complete story within a limited amount of pages, right? And if that one shot is popular enough, then you might have the opportunity to go work with an editor to refine your art and story, and that opens doors to a serialization. All right, so do not obsess over the details of your one shot. I know so many of you here want to have an actual manga series, but once your one shot is approved for a serialization, That's when you work with an editor to improve the details. But before then, don't get too obsessed with the details if you're just working by yourself. So if you look at Naruto, right, for example, Naruto was a bit different. And in the initial one shot, the first one shot, like the first chapter, the first pilot chapter for Naruto, the designs were pretty different, and the world of Naruto was vastly different from how it is today. So back in the one shot, people were actually using guns. I mean, if you look up like Naruto pilot chapter or Naruto one shot, like you'll see a couple of funny chapters of ninjas just holding guns. It's so, like it was so disconcerting when I saw it the first time, when I read it the first time. It's like, oh my gosh, this is not the Naruto I know. It's kind of crazy, like Naruto with guns. Kind of crazy. And a lot of things have changed since then, right? No more guns. It's again vastly different. The Naruto series is vastly different from the one shot, but yeah, that's that's how you know that just obsessing with the details for your one shot um might not be worth it, because I don't it might change once it does get turned into a series. So yeah. And you also have like Attack on Titan, for example, right? So in the first pilot chapter for Attack on Titan, the art was so different and the characters unrecognizable. Eren, the main character wasn't Eren. Mikasa wasn't there. Armin wasn't there. Levi wasn't there. None of the characters in the series were in the pilot chapter. Alright? Because Isayama at that point hadn't really planned out Eren or any of the main three characters yet. So for his one shot, he was really, the only thing he really got down was the story. The whole concept of humanity living behind this huge wall, and titan and like human eating titans causing havoc, wreaking havoc, and the survey corps, the entity that's charged with killing these titans. Those are the details that he got down when he made his one shot, not the characters really. And that was enough. That was enough to make the publisher like take a chance on Isayama and actually work with him to develop Attack on Titan further, because the concept of Attack on Titan was just so unique and just so amazing at that time. And yeah, it was, and they didn't even care about his art at that point. I mean, Isayama had joined multiple competitions, and for one competition he got one comment from, I think, a judge for the competition, who said that his art was the worst. His was the worst looking out of all the submissions that they'd gotten for that competition. And this was for his one shot. I forget what the name of the one shot was, but it was one of his earlier one shots that he submitted to a competition, and that's the comment he got, that it was the worst looking submission they ever got for the competition. But it won, right? It might have been the worst looking, but it did win. So yeah, art was different, characters were different, and yeah. So you guys, your art, your stories, your characters, right? You will get to improve on them once you're up for serialization. So do not aim for perfection now. Okay? Don't be so obsessed with finalizing things for your very first project. Okay? Because for your first project, you're trying to work out what works for you, but you're also trying to figure out what could perhaps work for your target audience, right? If the ultimate goal is to publish and to put yourself out there, to put your work out there, right? So if that's the goal, then you're not just trying to improve your work, you're not just trying to improve your stories, you're not just trying to improve your art, you're also trying to figure out your style, and trying to figure out who your target audience should be, right? So yeah, that means that you need to be flexible. You need to be open for experimentation, especially for your very first project, you know? All right. So, for your first project, for your first one shot, what is the ideal number of pages? Drop your comments, drop your guesses in chat. What's the ideal number of pages? All right, so we've already established that the ideal number of chapters for your first manga should be one chapter. All right, but for that single chapter, how many pages should it be? I realize now I actually revealed the answer earlier. So this is for the people who are paying attention. All right, if you get this right, that means you were paying attention to what I said earlier. I already revealed this earlier. So, all right, who's been paying attention? Who listened to me when I revealed the answer earlier? My bad. All right, some of you weren't paying attention then. Only some of you got it. All right, you guys, it's 16 to 20 pages. I already mentioned this earlier. For the people who didn't get it, you haven't been listening. Yes, so it's 16 to 20 pages, you guys. Do you guys think that's short? Let me know how you feel about 16 to 20 pages, you guys. Is that short? How do you guys feel about 16 to 20 pages for your first one shot, for your single chapter? How do you guys feel about that? Okay, for some of you guys, okay, apparently some of you guys just joined, so they didn't know the answer. So, okay, for you guys who just joined, it's fine, okay? For the people who've been here and heard me say the answer earlier, then shame, you weren't paying attention. But for the people who just joined, then it's okay. It's a big project for a newbie. Oh, 16-20 pages for Jonathan is big. Alright. For Thomas, it's a bit short. Might just stretch it to 30. I prefer 8 pages. Alright. 16 is so short if your manga have a lot of ideas. Now, you guys, 16 to 20 pages is the typical page limit for most competitions. At least most international manga contests right now. If I'm not mistaken, Silent Manga Edition, it's 16 pages. But again, I might be remembering this wrong. But yeah, for most manga contests, that is the limit, 16 to 20 pages. Yes, because the whole point is, one, manga contests do have deadlines. So the shorter the submission needs to be, then the easier it'll be for aspiring participants, for people who want to submit their works, right? It's shorter, it's faster, easier to work with, and also it presents a challenge for mangakas who want to submit their mangas, right? So in a way, it is a way for publishers to see if you can manage in just a limited amount of pages. If you can manage to tell a really effective and complete story in just a limited amount of pages, then you do have the potential for a series, honestly. If you can do small projects really well, then that's an indicator that you have potential, because they are trying to assess, okay, how are your storytelling skills? How's your art? And they don't have enough time to go through like hundreds of aspiring mangaka submissions every day, so that's why they require one shots. And you guys, this is what our mentors say about one shots. Yazawa Sensei says, you can forget about becoming a pro mangaka if you can't tell a good story in 16 to 20 pages. And our mentor, pro manga editor Vivi, says, I'd rather have a good short story than 60 pages of confusion. All right. So if you can't tell a good story in 16 to 20 pages, then Yazawa Sensei basically says you can't become a mangaka. That's just the hard truth, you guys. If you can't tell a good story in 60 to 20 pages, then you're not cut out to become a mangaka. A pro mangaka, at least. So it is important that you can make a one-shot, a really good one-shot, before you ever make a series. Alright. Oh no. Okay, I see some people having a dilemma in chat, you guys. It's not like you can never make a one shot. Like, it's not like you can never make a good 16 to 20 page one shot. It's really a matter of, it's not impossible. It's really a matter of how much time, how much effort it's gonna take you. Okay, because it's not impossible. Making a 16 to 20 page one shot is not impossible. I mean, you just look at our students. A lot of them had never drawn before or had never made a manga before joining the program, and now some of them have already finished their 16 to 20 page one shots. So it's not impossible, especially for people with zero experience. You guys. It's not impossible, okay? That's my silver lining for you guys. It's not impossible. True. Frankie, no. Oh no. Yes, it is something to keep in mind. You guys, you're not cooked. Okay? You just gotta lock in. It's not impossible. I don't know how many times I have to repeat it. It's not impossible, you guys, so don't worry. As long as you're willing to put in the work, then it is entirely possible. Alright? So, the average number of pages in one chapter in Shonen Jump is actually 20 pages. So, you need to hook your readers and make them want more in just 20 pages. This is at the point if you are already like releasing a series, right? But the whole point of saying this is because mangakas work with limited pages almost all the time, right? Because when you're especially for pro mangakas who are working with publishers have page limits for their manga, for their magazines. Like for Shonen Jump, it's multiple. For Shonen Jump, Weekly Shonen Jump, right? Weekly Shonen Jump is a manga magazine that releases every week, right? And there are multiple titles for every edition, for every weekly Shonen Jump that they release, right? Because there are multiple titles. So for one issue of Shonen Jump for that week, let's say there's a new chapter of One Piece, there's a new chapter of My Hero Academia, there's a new chapter of some other title of Jujutsu Kaisen, maybe. So yeah, for pro mangakas who are working with publishers like Shonen Jump, they need to limit their chapters to 20 pages because they're releasing weekly. So you need to be able to exercise that restraint already from the get-go because it will help you, honestly. And do not overwhelm yourself with an impossible task of making a 100 chapter manga on your first try. Don't even try a 50 to 60 page one-shot yet. Start with the standalone one-shot with 16 to 20 pages. Alright, so now you guys, let's get into it. Let's get into the 7 steps to make your manga. Step 1 is ideation and planning. So, our mentor Renesaya says that the most challenging part of being a mangaka is coming up with good ideas. So here is an ideation formula for you guys that you can use to come up with an idea. So the formula is what if, subject plus verb, and insert your subject and insert your verb here. Okay, so this is a quick way that you can come up with quick ideas and multiple ideas in one go, right? And it's a really good exercise that we try to encourage our students to do because it gets their brain going, it gets their creative juices flowing. So let's try this ourselves, all right? So for example, what if a high school genius, that's a subject, plus the verb, discovered a notebook that could kill anyone whose name you wrote in it? What is this manga? Do you guys know this manga? Okay, what is this pitch? Like, what if a high school genius discovered a notebook that could kill anyone whose name you wrote in it? What is this manga? Guess the manga. Let me know in the comments. Drop your guesses in chat. All right, it's really obvious. So if I see any wrong answers, no, asking for the manga, you guys. All right, so it seems that everyone got it right. It is Death Note. Death Note by Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata. Right. All right, so let's try that one more time. Now, what if a boy who's a martial arts prodigy finds 7 power stones? What manga is this? Again, really obvious. Another iconic manga. So you can't get this wrong, you guys. What is this? What is this manga? Vinland Saga. It's not Vinland Saga, but I'm sure you're joking. Yes, it is manga, you guys. All right, so it is Dragon Ball. It is Dragon Ball. Sorry, I said it is manga. Sorry, I meant to say it is Dragon Ball. Sorry, you guys. But yeah, just like that, you can switch up the subject and verb to come up with different ideas. And since it's so easy, you can make a bunch of these, right? You can make a bunch of these really quick ideas and just throw throw them at the wall. If that is that the metaphor for it? Like spitball. Sorry, that's the term for it. Spitball. All right, so because this is like a really short like way to come up with ideas, you can easily come up with 20 to 10 ideas and basically go through the process of elimination. So out of the 10 or 20 ideas that you come up with, choose the top 5 that stand out to you and then bring the top 5 down to your top 3 and then bring the top 3 down to your top 1, the one that really speaks to you, that really stands out to you. And that way that you can focus on one and commit to one idea. So yeah, it's as easy as that. And next is to identify your target audience. All right, so if you want to be a pro mangaka, you need to learn to create a story that an audience would enjoy. So not just you, not just your family or your friends. Okay, so personal passion is crucial at the end of the day. Like you do need to, if as the mangaka, you do need to enjoy your manga. You do need to like your manga, and you do have to have the passion for your story to be able to tell it and finish it and put it out there, right? So, but you also have to consider that a successful manga isn't just about what you love as the mangaka. It's also about what connects with readers on an emotional and an entertainment level. So a lot of mangakas, a lot of beginners fall into this trap of just creating mangas that are interesting to them and only them, right? And perhaps that are just interesting to their very close friends or just interesting to their family. Because while I do say it is nice to show your works to your family and friends, they're not really a good barometer for what would work for a wider audience, because like your family and friends, they have like the obligation to be nice because they're your friends and they're your family, so they'll support you no matter what, honestly. And a wider audience won't have the same obligations. They won't read your manga just to be nice. Instead, for a wider audience, they'll want to read your manga if it's compelling, engaging, and if it delivers an experience that they genuinely enjoy. So being a pro isn't just about drawing what you like, it's about creating something that others will love too. All right, so ask yourself, who is this manga for? All right, and the common demographics in manga right now are shonen, shoujo, seinen, and josei. Now shonen manga is for young boys aged 12 to 18, shoujo is for young girls aged 12 to 18, and seinen is for men aged 18 and above, and josei is for women aged 18 and above. So if you want to get published in Shonen Jump, then your target audience is shonen or young boys aged 12 to 18. But if you want to feature more mature themes, then your target audience should be for people over 18 years old. So for seinen, for boys, that's seinen manga, and that's manga like Monster, Berserk, and Vagabond. All right. So one of the most common beginner mistakes that artists make is having no clear audience or not knowing who your manga is for. Just making a manga and not knowing who the story is for, right? Um, because that's a recipe for disaster. All right, what do you call it when you want to draw for everyone? It's a recipe for disaster. All right. Like take One Piece for example. It's arguably the most universally loved manga in the world right now. I mean, it's still going. I think it's the longest running manga ever. I could be wrong, but it is definitely like the most popular manga right now. So it might be the most popular, but it does still have haters, right? I'm sure you know one or two people who don't like One Piece. Or maybe you've been on the internet and you've seen a couple of people who just don't like One Piece. And that's fine, right? That just goes to show that even the most popular manga in the world can't make everyone happy or can't satisfy everyone, right? So same goes for you. You can't make a manga that's for everyone. Like Oda may be a genius, but not everyone likes One Piece, alright? And that's fine. I mean, that's just the way the world works. It's impossible to create a manga that everyone will love, right? If Oda can't do it, no one can do it, alright? There's no such thing as a universally appealing story that every single person in the world will, right? And trying to please everyone is just gonna jeopardize the story. Rather than try to aim for your main audience and lock, right? So hopefully that's clear. Now you guys, let's move on. This time, I'm gonna teach you how to create a one sentence, alright? This is the first thing you need to do is to create a log line. Why? Now you have 30 seconds to sell them your story. Alright, so that is what a pitch or a log line is ideal for. Like, it's for when you wanna... Oh, you guys... The stream froze? Is it okay now? Oh, is it still lagging? Is it still lagging, you guys? Are you sure? Are we good? Is it still lagging until now? Let me know. It's back. Because Thomas says it's on and off, but I want to be sure, okay, before we proceed. I think it just glitched. It didn't really crash on my end though. So I don't know what happened there. Is it still stopping? Some people are still saying that it's stopping. We are so back, you guys. Alright. Alright, so if everything's good, hopefully everything is good. So, alright. So, yes. It's in these moments where you only have a limited amount of time to sell your story. This is when a log line will come in handy. This is when a pitch will come in handy. Alright? So here's an example of a pitch. Alright? So after an orphan high school girl discovers her classmates are cursed to transform into animals of the Chinese zodiac, she helps them break the curse while finding her own place in the world. Alright, what is this log line for? What manga is this log line for? Drop your guesses in chat. What manga is this? For you shoujo enthusiasts, you guys should know. It's gotta be Naruto. I know you're kidding, but it's still funny. You guys. Okay, only 4 people got it right? Really? No one knows this? It's Fruits Basket, you guys. I think it's arguably one of the more popular shoujo mangas, but yeah, now you guys know it's Fruits Basket. All right. So we do this same exercise with our students. Being able to create a one sentence pitch like this has helped them boil all their ideas down into a solid story idea, and it's helped them focus. So once you have your one sentence pitch, the next thing you need to do is in your logline, do not use character names or terminology that another person will not understand. So do not use any proper nouns in your logline, right? So the reason why we said an orphan girl is because for any first timers who are just hearing about your story, oh, an orphan girl, that's the essential thing that they need to know. Okay, the main character is an orphan girl. They don't really care if the character is named Toru Honda, or they don't really care about the character's name. They care about who the character is. So if you're pitching your manga to an editor for the very first time, or to someone who might be interested in your manga for the very first time, and you want to get them to read your manga, then you have to use descriptors. Okay, so do not use your character's name. Instead of saying Toru Honda is a girl who discovers like a family um, who turns into like animals when she hugs them. They don't really care who Toru Honda is. So a better way to describe it in your pitch is to just say she's an orphan girl, and that instantly makes her more how do you call it, sympathetic? Yeah, that makes the audiences more sympathetic to her. Oh, she's an orphan girl. Oh, that's sad. Oh, it's nice that she found a family, you know? So by describing her that way, it makes people more invested in the story, right? And in Dragon Ball, um, it's easier to call them power stones because it's the most basic way of describing them, honestly. So it might be crude to say, but essentially that's what they are. They're power stones. Okay, so the whole point of describing them as such, again, is to make sure that as many people get it as possible, right? So yeah, hopefully you guys understand. Now, to help you create your logline, let's answer the 5 W's and 1 H questions. Now, that's the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Okay, you'll need these for creating your logline and for further developing your story as well. This is a great like tool to use for any storyteller and for any like anyone who wants to write, right? So, who is your main character? What is their goal? When does this happen? In the 21st century, in the year 3000? And where does this happen? Japan, the US? And why does the MC need to hit their goal? And how does the MC hit their goal? Right? Do not skip any of these questions. As you answer them, you can create an overview of your story. And once you've mastered all of that, once you've answered all of these questions, the next thing to do is to finally start writing. All right? So create a plot. This is a written summary of your story to help you visualize the scenes. And beginners tend to make really, really long scripts. Because there are some beginners that make long scripts because they have so many ideas and they just want and they're having trouble like organizing them, so might as well write everything down. And there are some people who struggle with coming up with a script in the first place because they're not really good at writing, or they've never written before. They've never written a proper story before. So here's how to avoid that. All right. So, oh shit, sorry. excuse my language. If you're making a 16-page manga, you only need a one-page plot summary, right? For 16 pages, you just need to plot out your story in a single page. Just just the text, just the plot of your story. It can fit like a single page for a 16-page one shot, right? So if you add the dialogues, then you might end up with 2 pages, but don't make it too long. All right, and Yuzawa Sensei doesn't really include dialogue in her plot summaries, actually, because the whole point is to really just plan out what happens, what's the start, what's the beginning, and what's the end, what's the Kisho Tenketsu, which we will be getting into later. But yeah, so to create a compelling plot, you need these 4 elements: the Kisho Tenketsu. So for 16 pages, this is how you divide it. So perhaps you can have 4 pages for the intro, or 4 pages for the development, and then 4 pages for the climax, and then 4 pages for the resolution, right? Or maybe you need more pages for development, so you adjust the rest of your pages for the intro or the resolution, right? So you just gotta plan this out ahead of time. I actually don't understand this 16 pages. 16 pages, this is like the minimum number of pages for your first one shot areas. I hopefully that's easy enough to, or simple enough to understand. All right. Is there anyone else here who still isn't clear about the 16 pages? Because moving forward into the discussion, a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is going to be set in the context of creating a one shot that's 16 to 20 pages, right? So I want to be clear that everyone gets that for your first project. What I'm trying to tell you is that it needs to be 16 to 20 pages. Yeah, we're talking about one shot. Okay, hopefully everyone gets it. All right, so if everyone gets it, moving forward, how many pages are you gonna dedicate to each element? Okay, I think I already mentioned this. For 16 to 20 pages, it's nice to plan out. Okay, how many pages do I want to put for the introduction? Perhaps 5. For the 10, perhaps 3. Just as long as you keep it within the limit of 16 to 20 pages. It's a great way to just plan out your story, right? Next step, after planning out the plot of your manga, next step is visual design, you guys. For each. Yeah, 4 pages for 16 pages, 4 pages for each phase is good. 4 should do it. So 4 for intro, 4 for development, 4 for climax, 4 for introduction. But that's not necessary. Okay, you can adjust. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you can adjust if you feel like you need to dedicate more pages for a certain part. All right. All right. So, for visual design, there are 2 things that you need to figure out: character design and setting design. But setting design is more optional. So, for today, we're going to focus more on character design. Okay? So, for character design, here's the thing, right? When we asked our students to show us their original characters, right? We didn't give them specific instructions on how to design their characters yet. We just wanted to learn more about the characters that they've already been developing before joining the program, right? And we asked them to show us their best characters. And these are some of the characters that our students have shared, right? So, as you can see on screen, beautiful character designs, right? Beautifully rendered, so many interesting designs, interesting costumes, right? Like they really figured out the design. But when Yazawa sensei asked them, why did you design them this way? Why are they dressed like this? Why is their costume like that? Right? The typical answer that they would give Yazawa sensei is, oh, because I thought it looked cool. Right? Like even Pale Moon says that looks cool. Yes, it is cool. You guys, it does look cool. These designs look cool. But when Yazawa Sensei asked them why they designed their characters this way, that's the same thing they said. Oh, because they look cool. Right? And that's pretty much it. They were all about the aesthetics and just how the character looked, but they didn't really put much thought into why they looked that way and how their design would play out in the larger world of their story, right? How their design would play out in their story, if their design makes sense for their character, you know. Like, for example, if your main character is, let's say, an orphan girl, like the example that we talked about earlier, an orphan girl like Toru Honda from Fruits Basket, she wouldn't be dressed all fancy and like a long gown or pretty done hair or full on makeup or something like that, because she's an orphan girl. At the start of the manga, she's practically homeless. So she should look plain. She should look a bit rugged even. And that's what Toto looked like at the start of Fruits Basket. She was a high school girl. She was, fortunately for Toto, she was still in high school at the time, so she was still attending class. So all she wore was her uniform, you know. So, if it makes sense, if they're a student, then they should be in uniform, right? If most of the story is set in high school or most of the story is set in a school, then their main outfit should be a school uniform, right? It makes sense. So draw with intention, you guys. Design with intention, because a character's design is a reflection of their personality, right? And now I want to share the 3 levels to character design, right? So first is visual design, second is features, and third is essence. Now, most people just focus on visual design, like I just shared earlier. Most people just focus on how the characters look and not so much about what their design, if their design makes sense for the larger story, right? They just focus on how they look. As long as they look pretty, as long as they look cool, right? But quite a few people do get to level 2, which is their features, and this is their character profile. So here's an example of a character profile, right? So for features, think of it as your character's resume. And this is what you usually see in a character profile. And this is a profile here of Joseph Joestar from JoJo. And you see like the basic details, what their birthday is, where they were born, what their age is, height, weight, blood type, who their family is, like what's their hobby, what are their aspirations, like typical details that you would find perhaps in like a profile or a dating profile. Even like just like if you want to know about a person, these are the typical details that you want to know if you're trying to learn about a person for the first time. Oh my god. But yeah, basic stuff, right? And a lot of beginner mangakas stop here and they just come up with the very basic superficial details about their character, right? But it's actually not enough to create a truly memorable character, right? So you gotta think about the essence. Who is your character as a person? And only very few people get to this third step in visual design, which is the essence of the character. So who is your character as a person? This is something that you gotta think about if you really want to make good characters, good original characters for your manga. So, quick activity. I want you guys to think about your OCs. If you have any original characters that you've already developed, I mean, share it in the comments. What are their names? Who are they? Like, give me one of your OCs, you guys. You can share them in the comments. Just one. You don't have to share multiple characters. Just give me one of your characters and share them in chat. I'd love to know about them. Excellent. If you have a few, you can share a few since you already have them. Edgeflame Temper, he's more developed than the character I'm trying to go right now. Alright, so Edgeflame has a character named Temper. Alright, who else? Rolando has a character named Michael. Alright, who's the son of the Godfather. Is this the same Godfather we're thinking about? Are we thinking... Are we thinking Al Capone? Oh no, Al Capone, sorry. Al Pacino, sorry. Oh, my mind. Al Pacino, Godfather. Sorry about that. My character's name is Francine. She's very sweet and a quiet kind of gal. Nice. The Nutcat Harja is a Valkyrie. That's cool. I love Valkyries. Wow. That's cool. Also, just because I love God of War and I like I like Norse mythology. So that's cool. Harja is a Valkyrie. That's cool. I'd read that. A manga about a Valkyrie. Who else? Mitsuki, my character's name is Ryan. My story is based on an anthropomorphic world, and he's the only white lion. Ooh, that's reminding me of... What was that? Kimba? The white lion? If I'm remembering this correctly, was it Kimba? No, Kimba the white lion. It was the original... It was what... Osamu Tezuka's Kimba the white lion. Yeah. Yeah, it's a... If you guys know Osamu Tezuka, you wouldn't... I think you might have heard of Kimba, the White Lion. It's really cool. You can check that out. It's an old one, but it's a classic. So. Alright. Any other OCs? I like learning about your OCs, guys, so we can give you time to just share them. I have one named Lena. She's an otherwise normal barmaid if it wasn't for the fact that she's the reincarnation of an ancient demon lord. That's fun. I think I might have read something similar. It was a webtoon though. I think I might have read something similar, but I can't recall. But it sounds familiar. Reincarnation plot lines are pretty in trend right now, so I get why a lot of people are doing them. One of my OCs is called Maxwell Homura. In Simple Rose, he's like a punk with family issues. Oh, so like a bad boy, delinquent character. Alright. What else? What else? Jim Mac O'Reilly. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Mac O'Reilly, a defamed firefighter that was caught drinking on the job and sent to prison for a failed rescue that involved him losing his family too. Oh, that's sounding like a seinen manga, Jim. Pretty intense. But I am intrigued. That's cool. I'm thinking about a father and son story idea. Oh, yeah. A lot of duo plots are pretty popular nowadays. Not just in manga, but in like popular media as well. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking like Last of Us, Mandalorian, these like parent figure and kid figure type plot lines, buddy duo type plot lines. They're getting pretty popular nowadays. So also I understand why a lot of people would want to try that out for themselves as well. Alright. One of my, from Thomas, one of my OCs is named Theolin, hopefully I'm saying that right, who witnessed the implosion of Atlas and lived as a ruler of the Alfar. Okay, so yeah, that's cool. I can't really process that 100% because I don't know the context, like Atlantis and who's like the ruler of Alfar, unfortunately. Alright, so now that I've read a couple of your guys' characters, right? Now, I want you to picture these characters that you guys have shared, right? Now, I want you to imagine your OC in this situation. So if your OC saw an old lady trying to cross a busy street, what would they do? Type your answer in chat. What would your OC do if they saw an old lady trying to cross a busy street? It's traffic. So what would they do? Let me know. Okay. Seeing a couple of people saying that their OC would help the old lady. Alright, we have a couple of hero characters in chat. Or like nice people characters in chat. Okay, a lot of people have kind OCs, which is nice. Meow says their OC will try to run from her. Oh my goodness. That's fun. Arkham says their character would ignore her. Oh. Why? Why would they ignore her? Alyssa says her character would help the old lady. Okay. Kay says their character Chara, I'm assuming, will help and give directions and will analyze and will help fast. Okay. Oh. Greg says their character would walk straight ahead. They're not a good person. Okay. Kita says their character Yuki would look both ways. She would debate whether or not to help, but ultimately does it, but doesn't stay for long, just making sure she got across and done. Okay. So the type that just isn't in it for the conversations or the interaction, just get the interaction over and done with. Straightforward. Alright. This is fun. Excellent says, one of my other OCs, a cat who has a nuclear power, wouldn't care about the old lady walking down the street, but would just ask her for food. That's fun. Yeah, as cats do. Just come up to the old lady in the middle of the street and just meow for food. That's fun. Mitsuki, Ryan would cause a scene and help her. Right, right. Okay, so as you can see, you guys, each of your characters are gonna react differently to the situation. Different characters, different personalities, different reactions, right? So for this, let's take Team 7 from Naruto, for example. When put in the same situation, Naruto would carry the old lady on his back. Sakura would hold her hand and guide her to cross the street, and Sasuke would just ignore the old lady, because that's what Sasuke does. So it's things like this where, okay, one of the ways you can try to come up with your character's essence is to try to put them in scenarios and come up with how they would react in these scenarios. It's fun. It's a fun way to just build up your character's personality, you know. Yeah, the cat one is fun. I know, you guys. I mean, it's really fun. I would read that, honestly. A manga from the point of view of a cat. That would be really fun. And I have read, I think, a manga from the silent manga edition. Like, it was one of the submissions for the silent manga edition, where it was a silent manga from the point of view of a dog, and it was fun. It was really fun. It was kind of sad, but it was interesting. It was really interesting. Yes, Sasuke would ignore her. If you know, you know. Yes, excellent. Yay, I will definitely aim for a cat manga. Yes, it's a good idea, and it's fun. I would read it, for sure. As long as you know you already have one reader. Greg, if it's early part 1 Sasuke, he would help. Shippuden Sasuke would steal her key. Yeah. All right, so now let's move on. According to Yazawa Sensei, designing characters is literally imagining and creating a person with a history, relationships, goals and motivations, fears and struggles that shape their entire personality, right? So just think about your favorite anime and manga characters. The whole reason why they mean so much to you is not just because of their looks, right? Not just because they look cool, but because their stories resonate with you. You like their stories. The whole reason why we're so invested, for example, let's say the reason why we're so invested in characters like maybe Deku, or maybe characters like Hinata from Haikyuu, or characters like, oh, sorry, it's my favorite manga, but I'm suddenly forgetting the name. Vinland Saga. The character. Sorry. What's the name character? Thorfinn. Oh my god, I'm a fake fan. But yeah, the whole reason why we're invested in characters like Deku from My Hero, Hinata from Haikyuu, or Thorfinn from Vinland Saga is because their stories really impact us as readers. Like, we're so invested in their stories and we want to learn more and we want to know what happens to them, because honestly, I they leap off the page. These types of characters leap off the page. Their personalities are so distinctive. Their personalities are so human, in a sense. And that's what connects readers to characters, right? Is that we want to know about their story, we know who they are as people, and we want to know how they go about their journey of achieving their own goals, right? For Thorfinn, the whole reason why I was so invested in Vinland Saga was, and I binged it honestly in like 3 days, and it unhealthy. I wouldn't recommend it because it's kind of long, but it's kind of long and also it's kind of intense. But the whole reason I couldn't stop turning the page was because Thorfinn was such. I sympathized so much with Thorfinn, and I loved him as a character, and his arc was so interesting to me. So that's what you wanna create for your characters, right? You want to make your characters relatable. You want to make them connect with readers so that readers want to turn that page and know more about that character. And also, you have to think that your original character deserves that same kind of love and attention, right? You want readers to think so much about your character, right? Your OC isn't just a drawing on a page or a name in a script, they're the soul of your story, right? So if you want readers to care about them, you need to give them the same love, depth, and attention as any iconic manga protagonist. Right? So think about the most memorable characters in manga, like Luffy, Naruto, Guts, many more. These characters aren't just cool designs, they have clear goals. They have strong personalities, they have depth, emotional depth, and they also have flaws that make them feel real. So now that you know how to do the three levels of character design, let's move on to the optional part of visual design, setting design. So again, this is optional. You could do this if you have extra time, but setting design isn't as important for when you're making one shot. Okay? Because again, you don't really need to focus on world building when you're making a one shot. So, setting design is basically just figuring out what the backgrounds of your scenes are going to be, what the world your story is set in. So imagine the world that your characters live in. It does kind of help you with being consistent with your settings. So think, oh, what does your character look like? If your character lives at home, or if your character lives in an apartment, what does their room look like? Or if you have a fictional world as your setting, you can create rough sketches of what these worlds look like, right? So that when you explain this to an editor, they'll have a better idea of what the world is set in. Okay? So next up is finally one of the more um, intensive processes of making manga, storyboarding. Now, are you guys guilty of skipping storyboarding and drawing pages as you go? Type "I'm guilty" in chat. Are you guilty of skipping the storyboard or just never making the storyboard? Period. If this is you, just type "I'm guilty" in chat. Okay, we have a lot of people who say I'm guilty. Edgeflame says I skipped the step and somehow finished a 2-page one shot. Now, for people who skip the storyboard, I mean, I can't say it's fine because every pro mangaka storyboards because they have to. Oda storyboards, Isayama storyboards. It's basically a requirement at this point for professional mangakas because there are so many factors that come into play. When you're storyboarding, you're not finalizing any of the details, right? Think of your storyboard as the blueprint of your manga. It's a rough plan. It's a rough idea of what your chapters will look like. So, just like how you wouldn't start building a house without a solid plan, you shouldn't start drawing your manga without a well thought out storyboard, right? So, if you try to construct a house without a blueprint, you might forget to include like important stuff like a door or a window. Same thing happens when you jump into drawing a manga without storyboarding first. All right, and again, this is an essential step that every professional mangaka does. You don't skip it because the whole point of making storyboards is to have that revision process with your editor, right? If you're working with an editor, that is essentially important, like having that revision process with your editor. So that's why a storyboard is important. And for you as a beginner, we always encourage our students to storyboard to create a habit, right? To create a habit of storyboarding first before finalizing their pages. Because often what beginners do is they create their one shot from start to finish in one sitting and they don't really revise stuff. And the first version of their story is quite literally the first version that they ever came up with and that came to mind, and they just put it on paper, right? And 9 times out of 10, it's never the best version of what your chapter could have been, right? The very first version of your chapter is most likely never gonna be the final version of what your chapter is gonna be, honestly, especially if you're working with an editor, because editors point out details that a beginner never would have noticed. And that's why a lot of our students join the program, is to get feedback from a pro manga editor like Vivi, get feedback from a pro mangaka like Yazawa sensei or Rena sensei, right? Because they're seasoned professionals, they make storyboards, and they know what could be improved and what should be what you should and shouldn't do for your manga, right? So it's this editing process that's so essential if you want to make your manga the best possible version it can be, right? So the storyboard saves you time by helping you catch problems early on before you start finalizing things, before you start inking and making all the details permanent, right? So don't skip. You're more likely to end up with a poorly planned manga if you skip the storyboard entirely, right? And in Japanese, a storyboard is called nemu, or name, right? It's in Japanese it's pronounced nemu, but the English spelling is name, right? And there is an art to visual storytelling. Your name will provide you with an overview of the whole flow of your story. So imagine watching a movie, you just sit, watch, and everything flows naturally, right? It's the same with manga. So let's look at this spread from My Hero Academia, right? So your reader's eyes have to glide through your panels and pages without them even thinking. So In this spread, our eyes enter from the first speech bubble on the top right, and we go down through that panel to the second speech bubble. Then we're directed to the largest panel in the page, the focus panel. This is the misegoma. So, um, focus panel in Japanese is called misegoma. And then through the misigoma, we go down to the third panel and follow the dialogue there until we get to the end of the page and get to the final panel there on the bottom left. So as you can see, the flow is very smooth, it's very intentional, very straightforward, right? And this is the point of having a storyboard, is to plan out the flow, this reading flow primarily. Plan out your panels, your dialogue bubbles, and your scene compositions to complement this reading flow and make the reading experience as easy as possible for your readers, right? So, let's take an example from a beginner, right? These are pages from Fire Sakura by CTXNS. So, do you see anything wrong with these manga pages? How do we fix this? Now, main thing is there are lots of headshots and bust shots. And there's a lot of scenes with just similar angles and perspectives and redundant paneling. And it's heavily reliant on dialogue to drive the story. All right? So, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, you guys. I was going through the slides and they weren't popping up. Hopefully, you can see it. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So let's go back to the Deku slide. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry about that, you guys. Yeah. So this is the panel that I was talking about. Let's go back real quick so that I can explain the whole point of why storyboarding is so important, right? So you see that red line through this panel, through this spread from My Hero Academia, right? So this is your reading flow. And your reading flow essentially connects and follows through every single panel in your spread. So they connect the speech bubbles, the dialogue, and the scene and the characters as well. So this reading flow is essential because pro mangakas, the job, a pro mangaka's job is to make reading their manga as easy as possible and as effortless as possible for the reader. So planning out your panels, planning out your speech bubbles, your character blocking, your scene compositions, all of this is important for storyboarding. And yes, you do actually have to start from the right side for manga. So manga is read from right to left. And for beginners, this is quite new for a lot of beginners because all of our students are not from Japan and they're used to reading from left to right. So if you want to make manga, what makes manga different from comics is that manga is read from right to left, right? So you need to not skip the storyboard so that you can figure out how to plan out this reading flow through your pages, through your manga pages, right? So if you look at this reading flow from My Hero Academia, the flow is very smooth, it's very straightforward, and it's easy to understand, right? That's the main point. It's very easy to understand. Now, if you compare this to this beginner mangaka, right? These are pages from a beginner. This is Fire Sakura by CTXNS. So, if you observe these pages, what do you think is wrong with these pages, you guys? Now, how can we fix these pages? So, these pages have lots of headshots, lots of bust shots, similar angles and perspective, and redundant paneling as well. It's also very heavily reliant on dialogue to drive the story. So, not a lot of unique stuff going on. It's pretty basic, no backgrounds even. So, we're not entirely sure where the characters are through the scene. And the characters, we're pretty much getting the same. If this were a movie, we're pretty much getting like the same angles, bus shots. We're just seeing the characters from like the torso up or from the face up close-ups. So if this were a movie, it would be pretty monotone. It would be pretty boring because it's just the same angles, the same expressions, similar expressions, and also just so much dialogue, right? So it's coming off more sitcom-y than cinematic, right? But if that was the point, if you just want to like do a quick comedic sitcom-y type manga, then backgrounds don't really matter. But if you want to make like really cinematic manga like this one from My Hero Academia, right? If this is your goal, like bombastic, high impact action scenes with a lot of emotion, a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on, right? Really cinematic. If this is your goal, then backgrounds are going to be important. And coming up with different angles, different camera angles, and different scene compositions, that is going to be important. But if you just want to make like comedy manga that is literally just like a sitcom, right? Then this is pretty solid. But if you want to make shonen manga, then you will have to learn cinematic techniques, like how to draw a scene from a bird's eye view, or how to draw a scene from a worm's eye view, or how to draw like zoomed out splash pages and illustrations, right? So that's pretty important. Now, the key to planning out your storyboard is to just show, don't tell. Um, Show, don't tell is a pretty important principle in manga in general. It's something that our mentors repeatedly tell our students. It's also the most common piece of feedback that everyone gets because everyone forgets this at some point. Our students get so lost in the process of trying to tell all of these little details, and the easiest way to just tell a story is through dialogue, right? Literally through text. Like a lot of the beginners in our program, they start off with this mistake, like dialogue bubbles with so much text, or narration boxes with so much text, just trying to explain the lore, trying to explain what's happening in this scene, right? So our mentors always say that they need to use their characters. They need to use the scenes and actually draw it out instead of telling it through dialogue. Because if you just have so much text in your manga, then might as well just turn it into a book. There's no point in making it into a manga already at this point, because the story is being told through the dialogue already, not through the scenes, not through the characters, not through their actions, not through their expressions, right? So you gotta let the art speak for itself. You gotta let the scenes speak for themselves. So when you watch a movie, aren't there different scenes? Like there's long shots, there's mid shots, there's close-up shots, there's fight scenes, there's emotional scenes. It's the same with manga. So think of yourself as a director for your manga, right? So now check out these two different versions of the same scene with the same characters, you guys. So the example on the left is a single panel with all the dialogue and characters, whereas the one on the right is much more dramatic, right? So the panel on the left, it's just a single panel. It says the characters are saying like wanna go home together today, and the girl is saying sure. And all done in a single panel, right? But how do we make this even more dramatic, even more cinematic? So this is what you do. Check out the page on the right. So you have one panel that's just a close-up of the guy character saying, "Wanna go home together today?" And as you can see, the mangaka broke down the sentence into two speech bubbles. So to fill the space, essentially. So there's one speech bubble on the right. It says, "Wanna go home," and then ... and then the second speech bubble says, "Together today?" You know, so it's giving in intense. It's giving suspense, right? So what's the guy gonna say? The first speech bubble,
want to go home, and then second speech bubble, it's revealed, oh, he wants to go home together, and then cut to a close up of the girl's eyes and her blushing, and then zoom out and see you can see where the characters are. It looks romantic. You can see they're in a park alone, and the girl finally says, "Sure," So that's how you make your manga more cinematic, right? This is how you make it more dynamic, more interesting. If I were a reader and this just happened in a single panel, like it does work, it still works, but it's pretty anticlimactic, I would say, right? Because I would imagine this is a type of scene where things take a turn, right? Perhaps this girl has been crushing on this guy for so long and she doesn't know if he likes her back. And finally, the guy is like, look, you want to go home together today? And it's like a turning point, right? This could be a turning point. This could be a turning scene in your story, right? And it has to have drama because perhaps you've been building up to this point for so long and now it has to pay off. You have to make your readers feel happy to have gone through multiple pages of the character just pining after her crush, and now it's revealed, oh, he wants to go home together. So it has to have that drama to make it really effective, right? So now that's the point of storyboarding, right? So again, these are storyboards, right? These clearly aren't finalized pages, right? They're rough sketches of what's happening, right? And it's by having these rough sketches, you can already plan out, okay, how effective your scene is in telling your story, right? And you can make adjustments along the way. So, draw out the thumbnails to all for all pages and evaluate. Are there redundant scenes or weird flows? Can you combine scenes to make it tighter? So, you want a thumbnail in 2-page spreads, you guys. As you can see, you want to plan your pages, you want to plan your panels and your scenes in 2-page spreads just so you can see the reading flow throughout these spreads, right? And you can also see the balance and flow between spreads, and you can also see, okay, maybe I'm using too many headshots, maybe I'm using too many close-ups, maybe I'm using too many illustrations or like big panel illustrations, stuff like that. So you want to be able to maintain this balance, and the one way you can do it is through thumbnailing your storyboards, right? So here's an example here on the left of what a typical storyboard looks like, made by a pro, specifically. All right. So your first panel on the right is your entry point, right? When you're planning out your spreads, think about the reading flow. Again, it's read from right to left. And the very first panel on the right page is your entry point. It's the opening scene from your previous page. And the last panel is your exit point. And readers have to feel like they want to flip the page. So, how does it look as a spread? Remember, you're reading 2 pages at a time. So, when readers are looking at your manga and reading your manga, you have to make sure that the flow is consistent throughout that spread. All right. So here's an example from our student Raven. All right. So hopefully you can roughly see the storyboard, her initial storyboard here on the left. Right. This is her very first draft of her spread, and she started off with this, and this is what she sent to our mentors, and her final spread ended up looking like this after getting feedback, right? So from 13 panels in her initial draft, she brought down the total number of panels to just 7, right? So 7, and there's less dialogue and there's more focus on her actions and her expressions and the scenes, essentially. So it's making us connect to her more without being too overwhelmed with information, right? So every panel matters and everything has to be intentional. So I know that a lot of beginners want to include info in their manga. That's what Raven did for her first draft. So the thing that you need to remember is that what makes Japanese manga stand out from other comics is that they really put a focus on less is more. So if you can bring down 13 panels into 7 panels and still tell a really effective story or an even better story, then you've succeeded, right? That is the goal, when you're storyboarding, is to make your pages and your panels as smooth and efficient as possible, right? So yeah. Excellent. Wait, so can panels determine the pace of a page? So for slow movements, do we have more panels? Yes, exactly that actually. So smaller panels speed up the pace of a page, whereas larger panels actually slow it down, right? So for fast-paced panels, you actually go with more panels, actually. So if we go back, so let's compare it. Maybe I think a good example. I mean, this isn't really part of the discussion, but I do want to talk about this real quick. So if you look at this, to answer your question, excellent. Okay, so let's go back to the My Hero Academia panel, right? So here we have a huge panel of Deku just reacting to, I think, that person in the distance, right? So the whole reason why it's big is to slow down the scene, right? Having a big panel like this is the focus panel. Okay, this is the focus panel. The biggest panel in a manga page is the focus panel. So having a big focus panel like this actually slows down the scene and allows Deku time to react to what's happening in front of him, right? And it also gives readers the time to focus on what's happening and really take in the whole scene. So it actually slows it down. So having bigger panels slows down a scene, whereas having smaller panels, after going through that big scene, that big panel, we're back to like smaller panels here on the at the bottom. And here the dialogue is a bit more fast paced, right? So after going through that slow moment of just reacting to that scene with Deku, then we're back to like a faster pace of people going through a back and forth conversation. Right? So that here is where the speed like paces up a bit. So having smaller panels does pace up your manga. All right. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that's understood. Do you get it? Excellent. Before I move on, before you go back to like the original discussion, hopefully that's understood. Yes? Okay, great, great. So moving back to the previous where we left off. All right. All right. So, yeah, that was Raven's storyboard. Now let's move on to another storyboard from our student Courtney. So, here's another storyboard spread from Courtney. And this is her first draft, the one on the left. And when she sent this in for feedbacking, it became so much better. So, she actually there. She added reaction shots and tweaked the composition a bit and really emphasized the impact of the hit and the characters' reactions to making that hit, right? So in this version, in this scenario, the mentors actually suggested that she added more panels because this is already a two-page spread, right? So this is 2 pages, and it's a spread, and it's combining. It's basically just 2 pages, um, with one single illustration, across the 2 pages, right? So it's already a single panel for 2 pages, which, while it does effectively tell the story, oh, the monster is being taken down, right? But what would make this even more impactful is to show how the characters are reacting to this big moment. Because this is a moment in Courtney's manga. It's actually a huge moment. It's the climax, actually. So, to make readers more emotionally invested in the story and in this big climax, add reactions and how add emotion to it. So you add reaction shots. And that's what Courtney did. She took our mentor's advice and it made her story so much better. Right? It really emphasized and made it a bit more emotional. It made the climax scene more emotional. So now looking at all these storyboards from our students, right? Remember, don't be scared to edit, edit, edit. Because your first draft will always need edits. And it's always better to do it now than later. Because it'll be even harder to edit beyond the storyboarding phase, you guys. So, are you guys, before I move on to the next step, do you guys understand why you shouldn't skip the storyboard now? Are you guys gonna skip the storyboard from now on? Let me know in the chat. Are you guys gonna skip the storyboard from now on? All right, good. Okay. Glad that's understood. No. Okay. I mean, you do you, okay? I'm not your mom, but I am trying to tell you this is the way to go, you guys. If you want to properly like make a manga, you shouldn't skip the storyboard. Okay. Okay, you guys. Moving on. All right. So next step is pencil sketches. All right. So when you're making manga, you have a standard B4 size manuscript paper, and the B4 size once printed it'll be sized down to B5. So if you've ever seen like footage of mangakas just working behind the scenes, you'll see that they actually draw on really huge like manuscript paper. And that's B4 manuscript paper. And the whole point is details. Also, it helps with details, actually, just having bigger paper, especially when you're working traditional. It helps to work on bigger paper just so the mangakas can really get into drawing out the scenes in more detail. And when that's printed, they get sized down to B5. Right, so that's the typical way of how like traditional mangas are printed, right? And if you see these margins on the manuscript papers, these are guidelines, right? And you do not want to draw beyond these guidelines, these margins, because these are your bleed lines. And anything beyond these bleed lines is going to be cut in the final printing. So this image is a right page, right? It's positioned on the right side of the spread. So the margin on the left is thicker because this is where the spine of the manga is, or this is the nodu as it's called in Japanese. So the margin on the left is thicker because this is for when the pages are binded together in magazine format. All right, so yeah, you can also buy manga manuscript paper with these guidelines if you're working traditionally. So you can just set the paper size. If you're working digitally, you can just set the paper size digitally in Clip Studio Paint. And in Clip Studio, there are actually like presets, manga presets, that show you the standard format of manga publishers. If you look at Clip Studio Paint, there's a Shonen Jump, there's a Shueisha preset. Shueisha is the publisher behind Shonen Jump. There's a Shueisha preset. There's a Kodansha preset for the manga pages. So if you have Clip Studio Paint, that's really useful, just having these presets from these different publishers. So it'll be easy for you to plan out your pages if you're working digitally. All right. Kat, no, it's before. Yeah. So next up is inking. So when you're inking, you ink the line art, the panel lines, the speech bubbles, the speed lines, and the beta. Now beta, these are pure black areas that are just shaded in pure black. Manga paper, if you're working traditionally, if you're just a beginner and it's your first project, using standard manga manuscript paper isn't as necessary because it is pricey. So if it's your first ever manga, I would not recommend using the proper standard manuscript paper. One, because it's expensive, and two, it's your first time. So I wouldn't want you to waste good paper and also waste money on expensive manuscript paper. So standard A4 size is fine if you're working traditionally, honestly. All right. So these are the parts that you ink during the inking phase. And you could also ink digitally, right? The go-to manga drawing program is Clip Studio Paint. This is what a lot of pro mangakas do right now, if not all pro mangakas. I know Oda has gone all digital already at this point, but back then Oda used to do purely traditional. I think Oda was 100% traditional early One Piece, but then he's already transitioned to just 100% digital at this point. But I do know some mangakas, I can't name them off the top of my head, but I do know mangakas who sketch out the storyboard traditionally, and then scan them and ink them digitally because it's more efficient. Like, inking is more efficiently done digitally, honestly. So you can also have a combination, like a hybrid, where you just sketch your storyboard traditionally by hand and then you ink it digitally. Or you can go 100% traditional or 100% digital. We actually have a video on that on our channel, traditional versus digital manga, where we talk in detail about the difference between both and like the advantages and disadvantages between both. So if you want to learn more about traditional manga making, then you can check that video out so you can learn more about what you need to get started, right? And a lot of old school mangakas still ink traditionally. They use dip pens. So dip pens, this is the main tool that mangakas use when inking their pages. Do not use fine liners or ball pens. They're not really good to use for inking your manga, and also they're a bit difficult to use for beginners. Link, okay, real quick, let me send you the link to the video I was talking about. So if you want to learn more about traditional manga making compared to digital manga making, then you can check out this video real quick. Here, I'm sending it in chat. All right. Now, moving on, you guys. Let's move on. Again, don't use ball pens or fine liners when inking your pages. All right, just use dip pens. All right, I have used dip pens and it's difficult to make bold lines. Do we have a tutorial on how to use dip pens? Real quick, let me see if I can find you a tutorial on how to use dip pens. They're fairly easy. They're easy once you get some practice into it. If you're using dip pens for the very first time, it will take a while to get used to it. Oh, here. Okay, yeah. You can check out our tutorial on how to use dip pens here. There. So it's one of our very first videos. So forgive us if it's looking a bit rough, but yeah. It's pretty much all you need to learn if you want to start using dip pens. So, all right. So, aside from dip pens, there are other pens that you could also use, like Fuda brush pens or white ink. Now, Fuda brush pens, this is what mangakas typically use for broad strokes like this, like for filling out the hair and stuff like that. And they also use white ink to clean up their mistakes. So if you have like a stray line from when you were inking, then mangakas just use white ink to delete it or like erase it. Yes. Now we're on to the final step, you guys. That's finishing. Yes. So when finishing your manga, after inking, The next step is to add screen tones and shading. So as you can see on screen, this is the progression of a manga page. So very first is the rough sketch, the storyboard, the inking, the initial inking, where it's purely just the line art that's been inked, and a bit of shading here and there. And then finally is the screen tones and even more shading, right? So um, shading is mangakas typically shade using screen tones because screen tones are what create gray shading in manga. Now, manga is really just black and white, strictly just black and white. But I know some of you may think, oh, but this looks gray, like the one here on screen, right? Some of these pages, they look like they have gray in them, but they're not gray. It's really just black dots. So they come in different, screen tones come in different patterns and designs. And as you can see here, the gradient here, the gradient here on the upper left, the darker the screen tone is, the darker the shading, the more compact and compressed the black dots are, creating a darker shade, and the more distance the black dots are, the lighter the shading, right? So that's how mangakas shade their mangas using screen tones, and you can apply screen tones digitally and traditionally. That's why a lot of mangakas do their shading digitally, because it's so much easier to use screen tones digitally. um, Traditionally, adding screen tones is expensive, like that adds up. You guys, buying screen tones in Japan is actually getting hard. From what Trisha says, it's getting hard to actually find and pay for screen tones in Japan, because all of the mangakas do it digitally at this point. Screen tones aren't really optional. Every mangaka uses screen tones. Even like mainstream stuff that you read today, like Blue Lock uses screen tones. Um, yeah, all of the mangas right now use screen tones. Yeah. But you could also shade using traditional like inking methods, just strictly using your pen. I mean, like hatching and cross hatching. If you want to learn more about shading, you guys, okay, I'm just like recommending you guys like all of our older videos. Okay, if you want to learn how to shade, not using screen tones, I think you can check out our basic shading tutorial here. So it's our very first video. It's pretty rough, so forgive us for the quality. It's a really old video, but yeah. So you can check that out if you want to learn more about shading without screen tones. There are different shading techniques that you can do traditionally. So yeah. So yeah, using screen tones adds more depth and it helps create the mood of your scene. So if you want to learn more about shading, you can check out our YouTube channel. These are some of our videos on shading. I recommend checking out the latest video. This is the normal boring flat artworks and how to shade your manga like a pro. This is a really good guide on how to shade your manga digitally, actually, so you can check that one out if it's helpful. Yes, it is worth watching, you guys. Thank you guys. So you can check it out after the live stream, you guys, because we're not done, okay? So we've pretty much already discussed the 7 main steps to creating your manga, alright? So those are all the steps. To recap, the steps are ideation and planning, writing, visual design, storyboarding, pencil sketches, inking, and finishing and shading. So the whole point of this live is to give you guys a roadmap so you don't have to keep going around in a circle, feeling lost and stuck. And again, we've broken down this process with the help of some amazing professionals. So you've heard it here first, guys. This is how manga is made. So if you want to make manga yourself, then follow this process, right? This is what the pros are doing. So if you want to be a pro, then follow what the pros do, right? So reminder, just a quick reminder, you are not a pro mangaka yet. So do not expect or pressure yourself to go through this whole process in just a single week or even a single month. Right? It's going to take a lot of trial and error. If you spent, I don't know, 2 or 3 months just on the storyboard, that's fine. That's acceptable. I mean, it's your first time. It's expected, right? So if you're still stuck on the ideation and planning, 1 month in, that's fine too. Because the whole point of going through this process is to find your footing and figure out what you want to be and what you want to do as a mangaka, right? So of course, a lot of experimentation is to be expected. So don't expect to do it in just a single week or in just a single month. Okay, you have time. And also, luckily you guys aren't on a deadline. Since you're not pros and you're not releasing weekly aren't on a weekly deadline. Okay? So you guys are fine. Oh my goodness, are we still live? Hello, you guys, can you hear me now? It disconnected. I'm sorry about that. Can you guys hear me now? Oh my goodness. So sorry about that. My cat jumped on my mic and it disconnected. I'm so glad I didn't have my mic on for that. I mean, if I had my camera on, you would have seen my cat just jump on my desk, but I'm so sorry, guys. All right. So, I'm glad you didn't see that though. All right. So, real quick, sorry you guys. Let me let me fix my setup because it really messed up my setup. Let me just fix this real quick. All right? Give me a second. All right. All right. So, I think everything's good. I locked my cat out of my room. So, we should be safe. All right. There's no more cat interruptions from here on forth. All right. So, hi. I'm back, you guys. So, going back, okay? Again, you don't need to finish you don't need to go through this entire process in just a single week or in a single month, and we don't expect you to. All right. So this is what our pro mangaka mentor Yizawa Sensei has to say. Creating a proper one shot is 10 times more stressful than just drawing characters, especially when you start working with an editor, right? So if you want to go pro and make manga seriously, then this is a very reasonable goal. If you want to become a professional mangaka, aim to create at least one finished one shot per year, right? So you have an entire year to go through all 7 steps to create your first one shot, you guys. So that's a good start if you want to start making manga. Just one shot per year is a good way to start. It gives you plenty of time to experiment and figure things out and to revise and edit, you know? So Yazawa Sensei, if Yazawa Sensei says this is a good start, then it's a good start, you guys. You gotta believe her. She knows what she's talking about. Excellent. Could have been worse if the cat ran over the keyboard and ended the stream. Yes, small miracles, small blessings. I'm gl- I'm glad she didn't. She didn't jump on my keyboard. That's for sure. She just jumped on the wires where my mic is, so she didn't make it to the keyboard. I stopped her before she could. Orange cat. Yeah, she's an orange cat, so I should have expected it. I should have prepared. My mistake. But to be fair, she was sleeping, so I didn't really I forgot about her because she was sleeping. Yeah, okay, so moving on, you guys. So the goal is to finish just one single one shot per year, okay? Again, very reasonable goal. Now, creating your own manga takes time, it takes effort, and it takes commitment. Now, I know you guys ask yourself, you have to deal with so much mental anguish like, am I good enough? Am I doing it right? Is it worth it? I know you're constant, a lot of beginners are in this constant overthinking struggle of just, oh, I shouldn't because this, because I'm busy, because I have work, or I'm not good enough, I'm not skilled enough, I haven't practiced enough, and it isn't worth it, you know? So, if you're this type of person who's struggling, right? If you're struggling like this, then I have a question for you. Would you rather do it yourself, or would you rather have a proven path to success, right? Just look at how much progress our students have made. So earlier, if you remember, we were talking about Courtney's storyboard. So this is the final product. This is the final page from the one shot that the storyboard was from. So this is her final page here from September. So back in January, Courtney already had some illustration experience. She knew how to draw, but she didn't know how to make a manga, and she really wanted to improve her storytelling skills. So she joined the program and she went through the whole back and forth with our mentors over her storyboards, finalized her storyboards, and now this is the outcome. She finished her first one shot and she's already on to making her another one shot, you know. So much progress in just a couple of months. It's amazing, honestly. And we also have our student Garrett. Now, before working with us, Garrett never made manga before, and now he's finished storyboarding his one shot. So back in January, these were his storyboards back in January, and these were his storyboards back in February. So much more detail. It's more complete looking because he actually got to the inking stage. A lot of beginners never do get to the inking stage, honestly. Or if they do get to the inking stage, the scenes aren't as effective or don't look as good. So with Garrett, he's improved so much and moved on from storyboarding and just sketching his panels out to finally like finalizing them and inking them, you know. So it's really been awesome just seeing his progress. And we also have our student Amser. Now Amser has made so much progress. I mean, back in 2023, all he this was these were illustrations of his original character, right? And his character has evolved so much over the years. One, his anatomy, his basic anatomy is really improved, and his composition, his scene composition is really improved as well. So these are just the progression. Back in October to December, he was really just drawing illustrations, and then in November he started making like yonkomas and short mangas, 4-page mangas, and then he started sketching out his one shots, and he went through I would love to show you guys the progression of his storyboards to his final pages for his one shots, but you can check it out in a previous live stream. We had a full interview with him in a previous live stream, which you can check out here. It's here on the upper left. You can check that out in the live tab, where we go through the entire process that he had to go through with creating his first one shot and what the feedbacking process was like. So this is his final manga from back in March 2025. So much improvement, as you can see, right? So much more detailed. It's fully rendered out, and the stories are getting better with every new one shot that he's making. He's already on his, I believe, third one shot. So yeah, his first one shot he finished earlier in the year, second one shot mid-year, and then like he's already currently working on his next one. And he's already improved so much. It's been great seeing his progress. And he's already planning on submitting to the silent manga edition as well. So, if you want to be like our students, if you want to have guidance and mentorship to make as much progress as our students have done in just a year or in less than a year, then we do invite you to apply to our online one shot manga drawing program. Our students have had exclusive access to our mentors, our coaches, and you could too if you apply. So, just a quick recap, if you do apply, you will get mentorship from our mentors, Naoyazawa and Renesaya, who are pro Japanese mangakas with over decades of experience in the industry. And then we also have pro mentor webtoon artist Steph Pastrano, and we have an editor on staff. If you want to get an editor's feedback, then apply to the program, right? So are you guys excited to work with these amazing mentors? Do you want to work with these amazing mentors? Let me know in chat. Just say yes if you do want to work with these amazing mentors and get their mentorship. Then just type yes in chat. But a quick reminder, you guys, we're not just taking in anyone. The better the fit, the better the results. And we want to work with aspiring mangakas who want to commit and who are ready to commit and challenge themselves to be the best that they can be. All right. So, if you do join our program, this is an amazing opportunity. This is an exciting opportunity that we've had in the works. Is we're preparing a manga anthology where we collect our students' best works and promote them on our platform so you can get more exposure. So think of like a weekly Shonen Jump issue where it's just a compilation of mangas from our students, right? So that's what we're putting together currently, and I think we're going to release by end of year. So if you want to get a marketing boost on your manga and have us share your manga publicly, then join the program. Get you guys more exposure. And another exciting opportunity is next year, we're going to be sending our most committed and top performing students in our program to Japan on an all expense paid trip to Japan and to attend Comitia, which is a top indie manga convention in Japan where you get to pitch your mangas directly to Japanese publishers and editors, right? And Trisha is in Japan. Will hire translators in Japan if that's what it takes to like translate your works into Japanese to show to publishers. Again, all expense paid. So if you want this exciting opportunity, then you'll get a chance if you join the program. All right. So do you guys want in? After hearing all of these exciting opportunities, after hearing about our students' progress, after learning about our mentors, do you want in? Because if you were one of those people who said yes and you want in, then here's how the process works. So this is for you if you were at least 18 years old and can comfortably write and speak in English. If you're a beginner mangaka who feels lost and stuck and finally wants to feel confident putting your manga on paper and sharing your stories to the world. And you want the fastest path to gain the right skills to self-publish, join manga contests, or even pitch to publishers, right? And you want mentorship from pro Japanese mangakas and a pro manga editor. And it's for you if you want to join a community of fellow mangakas who are in this journey with you together. All right, so we have so many students in the program right now. A lot of them have been so enthusiastic. They've been so nice. Everyone is nice, you guys. If you're worried about people not being nice in the program, don't worry. Everyone is really nice. Everyone's really cool. Everyone just shares their mangas with each other in our community page, and it's been fun seeing the students interact and help each other out. Even some students like comment on other people's works, and it really gives them valuable feedback, if you know what I mean. So aside from getting feedback from mentors, you could also get feedback from fellow mangakas who are also working towards the same goal as you. So yeah, everyone is nice. You don't have to worry about that. And the mentors are nice as well. The mentors, they're professionals. They are gonna give you like hard critique, but they're gonna be nice about it, so you don't have to worry. All right. So if this sounds like you guys, if any of this is you, then I invite you to book a free manga consultation call with us, and we will only accept serious applicants. So this is it. This is the moment of truth. Are you ready to make manga seriously with the guidance of pro manga mentors? Do you want to make actual progress within a year or less than a year, depending on how committed you're going to be to the program? And if you are, if you're still with me, then you've made the decision, and you've made the decision to take action. Right? If you're still here, if you're still watching even after the discussion, even after the whole point of this live stream, like even after I shared the 7 steps to making manga. If you're still here and you've heard about the program, if you learned about the program, then that means that you're interested and you do want to take action and you do want to make more progress and you don't want to stay stuck in the same situation of you struggling to learn by yourself, and you're ready to commit and you're ready to get the same results as our students. And I honestly think you guys, if you're still here, then you guys deserve that opportunity and you guys deserve mentorship and guidance. So, if you're willing to commit and you're willing to put in the work, then the ball is in your court. You guys, will you take action tonight or later today? Or will you just stay stuck in the exact same situation for the next month and let another year go by without making any progress? Right? So, if you don't want that to happen, then you can apply to the program. All right, apply now. So the link is in the description. If you want to apply to the program, the link is in the description. I can also send it here in chat real quick. Give me a second. A lot of you guys are still here. It's nice to see that we still have a lot of people here on live. So I believe some of you guys may have questions for me. So if you guys have questions about about the program, then I am gonna be entertaining them. But real quick, okay? I just want you guys to if you guys want to apply, I'm gonna give you guys time to check out that link and go through the application if you want to apply. All right, or you can always check out our website, learntojawmanga.com, if you want to learn more about the program and if you want to see more testimonials from our students. And yeah, so moving on, I'm now going to be opening the floor to questions from you guys. So if you guys have any questions for me, now's the time to ask. All right, so Greg asked, do you guys have payment plans? Yes, we have payment plans. That's why we have the free manga consultation calls, so that we can discuss, okay, what is your financial situation, what can we do to help you, and what can we do to make it work, right? So yes, we do have payment plans. If you guys are if I see any questions about what do I do if I'm underage, then sad to say, you guys, we are not taking in anyone who is below 18 years old, because I think I've explained this before. We want to work with people who have the capacity to take criticism and not take it personally. So we don't want to run the risk of having our mentors potentially critique your work and have you take it personally, because then it would just make it difficult for our mentors to review your manga moving forward. Because if you're not the type to take criticism well, then this program isn't for you. Yeah. All right, another question. What are ways to improve your popularity with your target audience? Building a presence online. I had this really great discussion with a mangaka, an indie mangaka who's gotten published by Viz, Gigi Murakami. So Gigi Murakami is a horror mangaka. She's American. She's based in America. She's based in, I don't know where in America, unfortunately, but she's American, based in the US, and she's had her manga published in Viz. And she, before she got her manga published, she'd actually been building her following online, and she'd been releasing free mangas online before getting published in Viz. So you can check out if you want to learn more about the whole process of building your audience as a beginner mangaka, as an indie mangaka. You can check out our interview with Gigi. She offers a lot of great points about how to build your following and build your readership, because that's really important, especially if you're not from Japan. Like, opportunities to present your work to editors and publishers are limited because all of the publishers are in Japan. So the way to go for foreign mangakas is to really just post their works for free. At least your first few projects, not all of your projects, right? So release your best projects online and have people read it. I know Gigi Art Crumbs releases their manga on Global Comics. Art Crumbs is another mangaka who's been published by Viz, and they actually built their following by releasing some of their works on Global Comics. I know Gigi's on Instagram, and she's also on Twitter, I believe. So yeah, a lot of these indie mangakas, sorry, not beginner, because Gigi and Art Crumbs, they're not beginners, they're actually kind of pros at this point because they've been published. So these published foreign mangakas, indie mangakas, they just built their following online. Gigi also has a YouTube channel. Art Crumbs has a YouTube channel. That's how they build their readership and just generate interest in their mangas. All right. What about students that's older, like 40 to 50? Of course. Yes, we do. We do have some students who are like 40 years old, Jim. That's not a problem at all. Kita, this program won't expire. No, we're not going away anytime soon, Kita. You don't have to worry about that. You can apply anytime, actually. Enrollments are open indefinitely. Dr. Bot, whatever platform works best for you. I know a lot of indie mangakas are on Twitter, so you could try Twitter, or you could try Global Comics, like comic sharing platforms like Global Comics or Manga Plus Creators. Manga Plus Creators is Shueisha's manga platform, so you can try, and it's for free. You can upload your manga for free on Manga Plus Creators. V, is there a limit to enrollment? No, no. There isn't a student limit at this point, and we're not closing enrollments anytime soon, so you can apply anytime. Will the Japan trip be a one-time thing? It depends. The Japan trip will entirely depend on the performance of the students. If there is an outstanding student that performs well this year, then they're gonna be sent to Japan as soon as possible. Yes, but if there is, because there might be instances where students don't really make a lot of progress in a certain year or something like that, or students like take a break, because students do take breaks during the program, so like a sabbatical type thing. So it really depends on like which students are active, how active they are, and how much progress they make. So it's not going to be a one-time thing, that's for sure. But it'll depend on the progress of the students. Thanks. If it gets popular there, can Viz take that one shot later? Yes. So Viz does take previously published one shots. Published, I say loosely, like self-published one shots. So in the case of Gigi actually, the one shot that got published with Viz, Gigi actually already published herself before she ever sent it to Viz. So yeah, And when she published it herself, it did get a lot of reads. It did get some interest. So that actually pushed her to try and sell it to Viz. And it worked. And Viz published it. So yeah, it's totally possible. Okay, you guys, I'll entertain one or two more questions before we go because it's getting pretty long and I'm sure you guys are tired. Some of you guys are tired. I know it's pretty late for some of you guys, so maybe one more question. Haru, my manga feels boring or totally copied. How do I add some spice to it so it feels a bit original and exciting? As right now, it feels stale. So, I can't make a proper assessment, Haru, because I haven't seen your manga. So if it feels boring or totally copied, I'm assuming it's like this your panels, your scenes look totally copied from other manga. If it does, and it feels generic in that sense, then diversify your sources. That's what I always say. If you're a beginner and you've only ever been reading like mainstream shonen, then you need to expand your you need to expand your visual library and actually read other kinds of manga if you want to spice up your manga. So read horror manga, read seinen manga, read shoujo manga. You know what? Isayama, the mangaka behind Attack on Titan, his editor actually recommended that he read shoujo manga to just improve his anatomy and to improve his scene composition. Right. So expand your horizons, read more manga. If your manga feels boring, then take lessons from other types of manga that you've never read before. Because you can like learn from other kinds of manga. Bryn asks, okay, one more question from Bryn. One of my top 3 animes I love, which is Log Horizon. I found out that it wasn't a true manga, but a novel type with anime illustrations. Can we go this way? Then that's not a manga anymore, Bryn. The steps that I've shared with you are for making manga. If you want to make like, I'm saying, perhaps that's like a graphic novel, perhaps is what you're talking about. If you want to make a graphic novel, then the standards are different and the process might be different for that. So I'm not an authority on that. I don't have much knowledge on that, so sorry. I can't really answer your question. Yeah. So graphic novels are completely different from manga. So if you want to make a graphic novel, then you can look up. This isn't the place for that, unfortunately. Okay, one more because I do see like you guys have a lot of questions. So maybe one more. Okay. One more from King of Forklifts. For someone who's learning how to draw, do you recommend they learn how to draw digitally or traditionally? Everyone in the program right now, at least most if not all of our coaches and most if not all of our mentors started out by learning how to draw traditionally, because learning how to draw with pencil and paper is how everyone starts, and it's how everyone should start, honestly. Because if you start learning how to draw using like a tab and a digital pen, the feel is different. The feel of drawing digitally is a bit different from drawing with a pencil and paper. And if you get used to drawing digitally, I'm not sure how it is because I personally have never started by drawing digitally, but I guess it has to do with your like wrist movements and like how you control your pen control. I think is really different when you're drawing with pen and paper and when you're drawing digitally. So I think it's good to start with a pencil and paper first before going digital, because then you get a sense of how like your hand works and how strokes work and like pen pressure as well. All right. So that's the last question for today, you guys. That's the last question I'll be answering for today. So thank you guys so much for joining today's live stream. Heads up, we have another free workshop next week. We're gonna be having a Yonkoma manga workshop where we teach you how to make a Yonkoma, and we also give you feedback on your Yonkoma on the spot. So if you want to learn how to make a Yonkoma and you want to make a Yonkoma with us and get feedback from our coaches on your Yonkoma, then you can check out and sign up to our free Yonkoma workshop. It's gonna be on it's gonna be next week on September 20th at the same time, 7 p.m. CDT. So if you wanna join, it's for free. If you wanna make manga with us, it's for free. So feel free to join. All right. So I want to leave you guys with these words. Will you be tomorrow if you start today? All right. Just imagine how much progress you could make if you started practicing today, if you started learning today, or if you joined the manga program today, right? Our students joined our program months ago, and now they've already made so much progress in their art and their storytelling skills, and that could be you. So you could do it too if you just take the leap. So sign up to the program today if you want to take that leap. And yes, thank you. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'll see you at our Yonkoma workshop next week. So hopefully I see you guys there. It's been fun. My cat says hi and sorry about the technical issues here and there. But yeah, I hope you guys had a great time. I hope you guys learned a lot. And again, I'll see you at our next live stream, you guys. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Hope you got if it's late, go to sleep. If it's morning, have a great rest of your day, you guys. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.